So I'm very excited to finally be able to do a review on the first deck that I purchased, and the deck that to a large extent changed my life. So the first deck that I purchased was not a tarot deck, even though I do dearly love tarot. It was actually an oracle deck, and it was Brian and Wendy Froud's The Heart of Faerie Oracle. It was around Christmas time, and my husband and I had gone to Barnes & Noble's. I just happened to see this deck, and it was just meant to be. My husband ended up buying it for me as an anniversary gift, and I just knew as soon as I opened this box that this was an amazing deck and one that I was meant to work with. So the idea behind this one is that it's a little bit more based on relationships and love than Brian Froud's Faerie's Oracle deck. I know I'm saying that wrong. Hold on. The Faerie's Oracle deck by Brian Froud, which is the first one that he did, which I also purchased very quickly after this one, and is another life-changing deck in my life. But this one is supposed to be based a little bit more on relationships and love, which I hadn't really realized, and I haven't really used it for that. I use it for everyday draws. I use this deck in readings with clients quite a bit, because this is an excellent deck to find out what energies are working with them right now and what blessings are in their life. What's a positive message for them and a positive action for them to take. This deck is very powerful for those sorts of questions. So you definitely don't have to just use it for, relationships. It also applies to life. And it isn't just for relationships, it's also for life. But there's a lot of interest put on that. Now, with this being my first deck, all the other decks in my life have had a lot to live up to, because as you can tell from the box, the artwork is incredible. And it comes in a beautiful, beautiful box. And then it comes with this gorgeous book, which is hardcover, which is great because it can travel with you very easily. And it's just amazing. I'm going to see. It's 126 pages with space for notes in the back. So there's an introduction in this book. The introduction is not as long as in the Faerie's Oracle deck, which makes me a little sad, because the introduction in the Faerie's Oracle deck is incredible and difficult for any other deck to live up to. There's so much information there. But they give you basic layouts and an introduction to the cards and to Faerie itself, which is a very real realm to them, which is another plus for me because it is to me as well. And then there is, as you can see here, a reproduction of the picture. Not quite black and white, almost, I don't know, it was like a sepia tone. So there's the name of the card, and then underneath keywords for the card, and then there's also a page's worth of explanation. Interspersed with that are some full-length reproductions of the cards on certain pages. And they have the cards divided up into sections, and I'm going to just briefly, they're in 7 groups, and each of them is a different aspect of Faerie, which is really interesting. The first group are the Faerie Queens, then the Queen's Consorts, so the balancing male energies, then the archetypes. Then the sprites, then the ladies, the tricksters, and the journey. I think that's all of them. Then in the back they have a more in-depth spread, as well as some questions that they answer. There's like a little bit of a personal interview with Brian and Wendy Froud, which is interesting to read. So the book is really good. Not as good as the Faerie's Oracle book, but this is much better than you usually get with a deck. It's in-depth and helps you to get to know the cards really well. So then let's get on to the cards themselves, which are incredible. This is the backing of the cards. So they're a little bit larger than a traditional tarot deck. They're absolutely beautiful. As you can see, they're easily reversible. So if you use reversals, they're great. They're not really shiny, which I like because they're not super slippery. They're very easy to shuffle and to work with. And it's a 68 card deck. So there are no cards that I don't like in this deck. I love all of them, but I just want to show you a few of my favorites. The Lady of Faith. So each of the cards are so gorgeous and so detailed, and the fairies just seem so real to me. They're returning 65. They just come to so much life, and the illustrations are just so gorgeous that you just have a relationship with this deck. And it's different for every person, but you have at least some kind of a relationship, and it just grows and grows over time. The Remembrance, which if you can see even with this laptop, his eye color for me literally changes every time I read with this deck, depending on what his message is and what mood I'm in. The Queen of Passage, 5. And there's deep and very rich symbolism in all of the cards. The Crone, 26, which when you look at the crone, it is necessary to flip her upside down and see the other side of the crone. The Queen of Owls. The Lady of the Unicorns, 41. 50, the Hidden One. So you can see by his use of color, and in certain illustrations, the lack of the use of color, he really does get a feeling and a message across to you. Song. The Queen of Laughter. And the Prince of Shadows, 11. So in this deck, there are a few cards that are numberless and nameless, and there's space in the notes for you to write what the meanings are of those cards to you. Let me just go through and find them really quickly. I forgot to put them aside. And so that can be a challenge, but I think it's also a really good challenge because it makes you really pay attention. And here's one of them. There's no number and no name on the card. And it really makes you communicate and work with the deck. You know, there's no like lazy just flipping the deck, picking a card and just opening the book and not doing any work intuitively or psychically. You really have to pay attention and focus. Here's another. And there are recurring characters in the cards too, which I love. I believe there's only 2, but I'm just gonna... Nope, there's 3. The Mushroom Fairies. And that's it for the numberless and nameless cards, but they're there for a reason, and they're just as powerful as the other cards. It's just a matter of spending some time working with them. So just like I talk about in my tarot videos, I really love meditating with these cards individually and as groupings, and I think that they are really important to do that with. I love this deck because I get very honest answers, and they're not always what I want to hear, but they're always what I need to hear. And this deck doesn't hide from doing that. It just gives it to you straight. And I really feel like a lot of the illustrations are just so, I don't know, they're just so what I think of when I think of fairy and when I work in that realm, very close to what I see myself. And I just love the fact that his fairies aren't all, cute little flower fairies, that they're very real beings, and some of them are good and some of them are bad and some of them are both. There's no in between, there's no like just positive. Not that anything ever really is bad anyhow, but they just might give you a different interpretation. And there were 2 other cards I did pull aside to show you because these come at the end in the journey section. There are 54 and 55, the question and the leaving. I can't see if I'm getting everybody here. I'll just do this. This is the question and this is the leaving, and they feature the two characters. And When these cards show up, it's always pretty interesting to hear what they have to say, because it's usually some pretty big stuff. So these are always really, really interesting cards when they show up for me, and they're really, really beautiful. And I just love that they have the same character. So they're not together numerologically. They're 54 and 60 in the deck, but really, really good stuff with them when they show up. So like I said, I use this deck for myself. I use it for others. It's an incredible deck. I highly, highly recommend it. It's also the first deck that I purchased in my life, in this life. So it's a very, very, very powerful deck for me. A really good medicine deck. And I hope that if you guys purchase it, you end up enjoying it too. The artwork alone, if you just collect for artwork itself with tarot and oracle decks, this deck is worth it, and very reasonably priced on Amazon. And even if you're paying full price, I think it's like $28.95 full price. It's still very reasonable for what you're getting, because you're getting that gorgeous hardcover book, and you're getting these beautiful, beautiful cards. And I mean, I think this is my favorite backing of all time, guys. I just love it. So this is a deck that is deeply close to my heart, and I hope that you enjoy it too. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.